everyone, and welcome to blog 62 of Tackle the Feelings Before the Behavior. And today's blog is no doubt going to be a little bit controversial just because of the nature of everything around this topic, but it's going to be called Technology is a Child's Drug. I've actually given it a controversial title because I wanted to catch your attention, and I want you to sort of not bypass it. When you're doing something and you wonder if it's right or wrong, and you actually just don't have the capacity to hear that something you are doing with your child is bad, you tend to ignore it or put it on the back burner to explore when you've got a bit more energy, because parenting is so hard, and we're full of people telling us what's right, what's wrong, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. This is going to damage your kids. We're just off the back of in South Africa, what I think is a wonderful law saying that you're not allowed to hit your kids anymore. Spanking is out. And that, of course, is huge uproar, and people really struggle with this change. They struggle with having to challenge the old ways, particularly in parenting, particularly if your parents are still alive and you don't really want to challenge the things that they've done. That aside, technology is a topic we need to be talking about. And the reason is because it is in the realm of addiction. It is. For children especially. And I want to explain a bit about that today. I'm not going to make this a long, wordy video, although if you know me and my videos, I find it very difficult to nutshell. But at the end of the day, what I want to do is explain a little bit about why it is so bad and why it is an addiction and what it's doing, as well as some tips for you and safe technology use, because we live in an age of, the modern world is a technical world. We disadvantage kids if they don't know how to use computers, if they don't know how to use phones, if they don't watch TV, they will be at a different level to other kids. We don't want to ostracize them, we don't want to disadvantage children, but we also need to be aware. We need to be aware of the dark side of technology in children and childcare and parenting. And so the very number one thing I want to explain is the importance of human interaction. Now, this is something you all know, that in a developing child, we have something called mirror neurons. So even though you're watching me now, and maybe you're looking at me, and maybe you're even looking into my eyes as I'm talking to you, if I do get it right looking into the camera, I'm not sure. But, no matter what I do, and no matter if I sort of, "Hi children," and they say hello to the TV screen, and "How are you today?" and the child answers back, it's still not the same as if that was in person, because of what we call mirror neurons, which are these, just in a really layman's terms, it's those copying neurons that they learn about reactions, they learn about what's right or wrong through mirroring your responses towards them. And so when they're happy and they're really excited and you get really excited with them, then you're validating their emotional experience. And that validation, if you know anything about what I teach with emotional regulation, validation is one of the most important steps out of the 4 steps. Naming the emotion, validating the emotion, guidance, and reassurance. 4. So in terms of validation and all of that, children need to be able to see what things give what reactions, and they do that mainly with the people like attachment figures or prominent adults and teachers in their life that they are learning from. They need to learn from you. They need to learn from other humans. At a certain age, a child will need that same-sex parent or a same-sex adult to learn from, just in terms of their gender and the differences in men and women. We watch if we're young girls, we watch mothers do things. We watch how mothers treat their bodies, what they look like, how they interact, the softness of the feminine style. Little boys will watch daddy shave, and they'll watch him fix things, and they'll watch him do things, and things we deem more masculine. Sometimes little girls like the more masculine side, and vice versa. We won't get into gender. But those mirror neurons, that ability to interact and get your reaction, is so important. That's why when a parent has depression, the damage to a child is pretty much that a depressed person has a flat affect. They don't bring their emotion to their expressions. They speak without emotion, really. They're flat. because of that illness. And so it's not to say that, they're a bad person and a bad parent, but children really struggle and become anxious because they don't get that modeling, that mirroring, that human interaction. And so you take that and you take it to technology. And then you also take sort of being able to deal with adverse conditions and things like that. And you see children, when times get tough, when they get upset, when they've had a bad day at school, when they don't want to deal with something, they don't have the resources to deal with something, they go straight to the video games, straight to PlayStation, straight to the phone and playing those games, straight to the TV, zone out, zone out, zone out. It's the same thing as if you go and you smoke a big fat joint, or you go and have a big glass of wine, or you take substances, or you have a porn addiction, or you get on your phone and you're on Facebook and on technology yourself, and you don't want to think. It's escapism. So that escapism, us adults do it all the time, isn't great. But for children who are developing, especially young children whose brains are developing rapidly every single day, especially in those first 5 years in life, you are hindering development. So you are not allowing them to work through emotional problems, challenges. You're not allowing them to manage and regulate their emotions or learn that from you. They are learning how to live life and do things through TV, through escapism. And that is where the developmental side of things comes in. Then you get the physical side of technology, which, just being glued to a screen and all of that I would just urge you to go and Google the physical effects of too much technology on children. They liken it to addiction to heroin or cocaine. The same areas in the brain get triggered, or gambling. The same areas, and you want more and more and more, and until you can't cope without it. You can't cope with maybe the ride to school, or you can't cope with any adverse condition. You get bored without it. You don't know how to entertain yourself. And all these skills get lost. And so what do you develop? High anxiety in children. High anxiety because they don't have those inner resources developing to deal with difficult emotional experiences, which means things become traumatic really easily. Things become a trauma really easily. And so, unfortunately, we are in an age where parents, are so overwhelmed, they're time poor, they don't have a control in the home, where you see these behaviors and chaos, basically, in many, many families, because there's no money, there's no time to really put that effort in that you would like to as a parent. And it is so easy to just allow the child to watch TV or go on their PlayStation, or you don't know. Or you think that what you're giving them is educational. It's educational games, it's interactive. But you don't know enough about the impacts of not giving kids enough time to be outside, sort of playing in dirt, watching you, being with human beings. We need to learn from other humans. So is technology completely evil? No, not at all. Tips I would give for technology use: moderation. Honestly, you do not need a lot of time. Some days are better than others. I get that. If you are so stressed or something's going on and you really just need to place them in front of the TV for a bit, or have, just get some space, that's okay. That really is okay. But when it comes to a daily thing where they are ruling the roost with the technology usage, where you have they don't have much TV, but they're playing lots of video games, or they're playing PlayStation, or they're on your phone a lot, that's when it becomes accumulative. It adds up. And those hours, if you worked it out, way too much, even for an adult probably, to be spending on a screen. And that is what we're getting into, and it becomes incredibly addictive. And we won't even go into the bullying and the social media and all of that type of thing that happens, where people are just, missing out, or that getting bullied with no faces. You're just behind a screen and you can say whatever you like, all that kind of thing. All of that. So moderation is all right, but you really need to monitor, and you need to monitor the different types of technology in your child's life, because there is a lot. I'm always a bit wary of Xbox Live and things, especially with young kids. You don't know who's playing live with your child. Old men, pedophiles, violent people. You don't know who's out there. You have no control. If you're not a technically savvy parent, it's going to be very, you are going to be at the mercy of your child. They're going to run circles around you. So you need to be aware. Another thing is, what are you using technology for? Are you using it to parent your child? Are you feeling overwhelmed and not wanting to teach those lessons and think Peppa Pig does a better job? You know, what are you using it for? If you are replacing your parenting with technology regularly, then there's going to be issues later on. Understandably, that's self-explanatory. I think you also, each child is different. Sometimes just a little bit of technology, if your child's very sensitive, is going to affect them. Where it might not affect their sibling or somebody else, you've got to watch their behaviors. You've got to pay attention to how they start behaving after they've watched TV or anything, and you will notice. You will notice them getting more stroppy, more tantrumy, more miserable, more difficult, more defiant, all those kinds of things. Those behaviors increase after screen time. Pay attention and cater this for your child. Your child might not be able to handle the same amount of technology as other kids due to sensitivity. Another thing is, make sure that you are simultaneously teaching kids emotional regulation. And go on my Facebook page, Tackle the Feelings Before the Behavior, look at my channel. I teach all the different things in emotional regulation through all the different areas and problems. I don't get videos out as much as I'd like to, but I always promise that I'll try and do better, but it is difficult. But honestly, you need to be emotionally regulating your kids. About 30% of the time is impactful. If you don't get it right all the time, that's okay, but they need to be learning how to process and work through emotions. They need to be. If they don't have that lesson and they start relying on technology to get them through emotional hardship, it's going to form a dependence. A dependence, like that's what all addictions are. They're an escape. They're a means to cope. They're a coping mechanism. Don't give your children a need for a maladaptive coping mechanism. Do that emotional regulation work so that if you do have those days where you just have to put them in a screen because you just can't cope, it's not going to damage them. So it runs hand in hand with actually spending time with them, emotionally regulating them, connecting to them emotionally. It's important. And the other thing is, the last thing I had on this list just before I wrap this up, is variety is key. Everything is good in moderation. You know, it's not a bad thing to teach kids those kinds of skills, and in fact they need these skills. But you also need to be making sure that their education in life, and not just school education but home education, is stimulating, that it's diverse, that they are being exposed to different things, that they are being able to build resilience by working through different things. So technology addiction is a very real thing. And if you find that you're struggling and you need a bit of help, I do offer a WhatsApp service for people international. If you're not in my area, I'm in Howick in South Africa. And if you need to work through this a bit more with me, we can do a counseling session. My email address is tacklethefeelings@gmail.com, and it'll be in the description below. So I hope that's helpful. Get in touch if you need to ask any questions. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.